Hi, brothers and sisters in Christ, and today I am back with another impromptu video. It's going to be about Rob Lowe, who is someone that I've mentioned before, I'm sure, in some previous videos. And before we begin this video, some context. This is after the scandal in the late 80s, the sex tape scandal with him and two underage girls. And he's now going in Arsenio Hall to try to supposedly build himself back up after that. And I just thought I'd do some commentary because he also talks about in this video where he decided to make a choice after this, you could say embarrassment ritual occurred. And he even alludes to the fact that he sold his soul after this event to sort of seal the deal that he wasn't going anywhere after he should have been running for the hills and been so embarrassed and like a turtle in their shell. But you're going to hear how Arsenio Hall wasn't just a TV talk show host, but possibly a major handler, and still is possibly to this day. Without further ado, I'm going to start the video.
They're references for like our generation, you know, they're references to Bewitched and Scooby-Doo and, you know, all that silly crap that we grew up with. So, and it doesn't talk down to the audience, you know, it's a real smart little movie.
Yeah. We have a clip. You know what's in the clip?
Yeah, this is, let's see, this is a clip of me manipulating these guys into coming under my spell.
Okay, let's see. Sandy?
Excuse me? Excuse me? He used the word bewitched, which every time they use the word witch, they have to be really overly enunciative. That's not even a word, but they have to overly enunciate themselves. And then he talks about going under his spell, so this is some good background for what he's going to say later.
Immediately, he wants to sponsor the show, put you on our station, and pay you guys a huge salary. Of course, what he doesn't realize is that you're both artists, and that you're not interested in money.
No, we're not interested in money.
That's what I told him. But he said, go to Aurora anyway and take 2 cashier's checks with you so they at least know that I'm serious. I know that I may be wasting my time, but here I am with the contract and 2 cashier's checks for $5,000 each.
Excuse me? Baking powder? It sounded like you said you were going to pay us for doing Wayne's World.
I know. You just give me the word and I'll tear up these checks right here.
No. We shoot these scores.
Well.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to point out, so he's going to be talking about how he signed a contract with the devil pretty clearly coming up here, but also notice the scene in the movie Wayne's World. He's doing the same thing. He's playing the role that he would end up taking on in real life. You see how they do this in plain sight? That's how the enemy works. Totally has to present it to you in plain sight so you have a free will decision.
Your life has a lot of diversity in it right now. I mean, you got this movie in the theaters, and you're doing a play.
Right.
And the play is like over 100 years old. Very, very prestigious project. Tell them about that.
Well, it's a French farce written by a guy named Georges Feydeau. I'm sure you're all very, very familiar with Georges Feydeau, I'm sure, as I was. It's with Tony Randall and Lynn Redgrave, and we're on Broadway right now, and I have 1 more week to go, and it's just been incredible. It's always been a dream of mine to be on Broadway in a show doing well and to have a movie down the block doing well. It's been really great.
Now, is that like an answer a publicist gave you, or did you really always want to be on Broadway?
Always. Well, I started in theater. People don't realize this, but I was a kid in Ohio. Didn't make any movies in Ohio. Didn't make any TV shows there. It's all you could do as an actor was start in the theater. So
like where, Kinley Players? Or?
How do you know about that?
Well, I mean, it's either Karamu or Kinley Players
Kinley
or
Players.
Playhouse.
And it was like, you know, Anson Williams and the Music Man every summer. I mean,
Yeah.
that was like the thing. Yeah, that's...
just a second here. You're going to notice that if you ever watch interviews, there's always some extra information that they know about them they shouldn't know. It's because he's a warlock, just like Rob. But he's like higher up than him. That's how come he's got the show. And he gets to interview all these other so-called celebrities, you know? Like, he's got familiar spirits. That's how come he knows. He wasn't there. The demons were when he was a kid. Rob Lowe in Ohio. But you see, one point he must have moved out to California because he said later on, and when he was a teenager, he lived right next door to Martin Sheen, father of Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez, and was at their house every single week. And then he got that role for The Outsiders, and then what led to the Rat Pack in the 80s stuff, you know? Like, I can't claim to know anything about that. I wasn't there. I just know that the denouement was like St. Elmo's Fire and stuff. Like, I know the theme song and all that. I used to be into 80s music, and all I know is it seemed like that was the peak right there. And then he wanted to try to go for a blow and go higher. And so the sex tape scandal could have been either a blackmail release or he was trying to go up even higher. But he ended up taking a fall. Eventually, a 25, 35-year climb till today. He's now supposedly legendary. Again, not in my books. It's totally idol worship. But he's got a star. He's got a star on the Walk of Fame. And I featured that in my Walk of Fame video about the so-called Hollywood stars, aka pentagrams. But this is about to get really good. Notice he's giving him commands like tell them the audience. Arsenio's like tell them about this and that. Commands, programmed, slave, handler giving commands to slave. It's just, and what is this on his jacket? You know? Look at the face on his jacket. Eyes, nose, mouth. You know, he's not that shy about hiding. He worships the fallen angels, demon gods, false gods, ones that God said not to worship. And I noticed the wordplay with his name, Arsenio Hall, Prince Hall, Freemasons. It's the Black Freemasons. It's all very, very arranged. This is about to it's about to take flight. So that's why I've made this commentary, because it's about to be just straight up him telling you flat out what he did to get all this success. And yes, he is telling white lies about that he wanted to do all this all his life. Because how can you ever believe somebody who lies for a living? Sorry about that. How can you ever believe someone who lies for a living? Truly.
I'm surprised you know that. Well, I'm from Cleveland, so my background was that kind of stuff, and wanting to be, at the Cleveland Playhouse, at the Caramoo Theater.
That's exactly where I started.
Yeah. Your character in this play is a virgin?
Yeah. It's fun. What? You don't believe me as a virgin? I am so offended.
How did you research for the role?
Sense memory.
Sense memory, yes.
Sense memory. Yeah. Remember back in the day.
I just said that at the house with Martin Sheen, Charlie, and Emilio, and his other brothers, because there's more. There's like 4 more. He's got like 6 brothers in total, all of them together. Martin Sheen, all of them. He had 6 kids. If you guys have never seen the movie, which I'm not recommending anyone watch any movies, because I hear people all the time say, you got to go watch this movie. Sometimes I would have been better off without watching it. I watched the movie by Martin Sheen called, I watched the movie starring Martin Sheen, talking about, I think it was called The Chosen or something like this. It came out right after Apocalypse Now. And, gosh, this guy, he's talking about sacrificing his children to Baal and stuff. You know, I literally don't think that's the name of the movie, but I'm glad if it's not, because I don't want anyone to watch that. I want to watch just for this one scene, which I may or may not put in a compilation about truth in movies one day. Because it's very telling, and I'm sure you've seen it before if you've ever watched when you were first waking up, like Call for an Uprising and stuff. And I check in to listen to his videos sometimes, but when I was first waking up, I was like blown away by the video clips and things that Call for Uprising would show. But yeah, notice how they actually kind of get a high off of their embarrassment. His tongue was coming out of his mouth there. His eyes are lighting up. Most people would be embarrassed, but it's a Masonic ritual, and they like it because they know when it happens, they're about to move up.
Did you really sit down and think, you know, how did I feel like when I was, I don't know, how old were you, when I was 15?
I was, sorry.
Yeah. Sat down and tried to remember those days?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the key each night, you know, it's different, but the key to getting off on a really good foot each night is if I can get in touch with that kind of fear the first time, like a woman grabbed your hand, the first time a woman gave you a kiss.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're kind of some old guys now. That's been a long time, but that first time, I remember being 13 years old and getting kissed for the first time, and I remember saying, "What was that?" That's called a French kiss. I was like, well, I like the American kind a lot better.
Yeah. You know, Rob Lowe on Broadway, did people resist that concept? I mean, were the critics hard on you? Was it hard to sell tickets at first? I mean...
Oh, no, the tickets...
Sheena Easton had problems, you know, because people don't see you in that way.
They're not used to seeing you in that kind of an arena, you know. And, no, what was good was... I think people who come to the movies were real excited to see me live. So the tickets were great. We've been sold out before we ever started. So that was great. And the critics, you know, they are a rough bunch in New York. They really, really are. And but they've been very nice to us. And, you know, it's been as good as I could want, really.
That's great. Let's take a commercial. Come right back with Rob Lowe. The eyes are the windows to the soul or whatever. You just look like a different guy.
I am.
Let's go. It's about to go down. He's about to say say what I really did this video for. This is where he tells you that he's a different person. He's gone through the rituals. He's been reborn in their witchcraftian way. Their satanic way. He's been rebirthed. And it is possible. I'm gonna leave that out there. It is possible. It is possible that he has been cloned. Because I was in denial about this, and I'm like, but like, why would God's creation be able to be manipulated in any way like that, to that extreme? Just know that in the underground military bases, which, again, found out some more intel about where those are nearby where I live and other places, definitely like to share that in the future. Well, that's where they would be doing the cloning. That's where it would be taking place. That's why it would be so unbelievable. There'd be no way to get access to them unless you're like a contractor, government contractor, engineer person of the elite. So it's not like we can really say 100% when we don't have access. We don't denied access, no access granted to the tunnels, unless of course somebody's been down there, like the people in the Epstein Island, in that elevator that goes hundreds of levels. or at least tens of levels, I cannot remember, underground, and they get to the bottom and there's like rows of cages like a prison. Heard a really interesting testimony. Person who was underground at the Epstein Island. Anyway, yeah, he's about to let it flow. What he's done to get all this success. Listen closely.
In fact, I'm not even really Rob Lowe.
It's Greg Morris.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've been through a lot in my life in the last 2 years, and it's turned out to be a good thing. I said to myself, what do I want to do with the next 30 years of my life, And what is important to me is I wanted to have a family. So I got married, and that has really changed my life. It's there when the movies aren't. It's there when the friendships run hot and cold or whatever. I always have my wife. And
this is the first step to, when you're ready to sell out, got to get the beard wife. Now, again, I don't like that term, but it's never a woman they're talking about when they get married. The reason that, and I found this out by watching these videos, it seemed really silly, this channel, because I heard of it a long time ago when I first woke up, like 2018-ish. Like, it's called Savage Robot, and he's just grinding these people to bone dust. As another channel would say, Power to God, Get to God channel. He's grinding them to bone dust. And he's saying, they have to get it with a Bigfoot, and I'm like, huh? Like, so this is why some of them don't have to do their sacrifices for a long time. Like Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe has anyone died around Rob Lowe lately? I don't think so. It's because they marry, it's like a forfeit. They're forfeited when they marry one of these closet transgender people. And I was like, really? Like, I never considered that. It's a consideration for sure, as he talks about how he's gotten married. The kids usually aren't theirs. They usually are IVF'd or adopted. So this is indeed still part of the selling out process that he's describing here. Of course, very, very, very lightly, very vaguely, sneakily, privily. Snake was the most subtle beast in the field.
it's really the best thing that ever happened to me.
Okay, now, where did the wife come from? I mean, you say, I want to have a family.
That's a good question. Some of these wives that look like men and women, some of them don't look human. That's a great question, yeah. Where do they come from? That's a great question. Look at the seriousness on his face. That's a great question. They come from hell? Are they devils reincarnate? Are these people devils reincarnate? Will they marry? Are they there to escort them? Are they there to escort them till the day of their death, so that they can be taken to hell? Or sometimes it seems like that way, especially when they get older and sick, and then they show them an interview, and the she wife doesn't even care about them. So they're caressing their back like, there. Don't worry. I'll have you to myself soon, and for eternity.
And then...
In the pit.
There was a genie. It came to my house.
Yes. And the genie did this, and there was a wife.
It was a wife.
Where did she come from? Who is she?
It's funny. I met her on a blind date, like 8 years ago. We went out. I think it's safe to say that there wasn't bells or fireworks for either one of us at that time. We became friends, and, I fell in love with my best friend over the years.
He was set up. That was a straight up lie, and he knows it. Again, always look for that tongue sticking out. But also just tone of voice, being able to discern. He's going in a rant because he knows that all these people are, including himself, are set up in Hollywood with someone that, because they can't have somebody who's in there with them, who's not in on what the rituals are and what and their belief system, they would be too pure, and they wouldn't want to stand by them. They may not be able to trust. Then they have to be paired with someone that they can trust, will be able to carry on with this dastardly life, sinful life that they lead, and being okay with them sleeping with multiple people and all their roles, and outside in the parties, aka rituals, where they do other things. They have to be compliant, supportive with these things. So therefore they're paired up with someone who would be that way. Therefore they have to leave their old life behind if their family wasn't already Hollywood or elite. And they have to start a new life, aka he's talking about being a new person. This is the Satanist version of being born again. Starting a new life. Disgusting.
And it took about 8 years.
Wow. I'm not sure
Cheshire Cat smile. The tongue is going crazy.
what those applause are for. The concept of falling in love with your best friend,
Is that
or
what it is?
really?
Yeah. It's great because, the other stuff goes. I mean, not everybody's pretty forever. Not everybody's, that immediate sexual magnetism. That all goes. And if you can have a deep friendship with somebody, that'll really keep you warm in this coming years. Because I didn't think I'd ever get married because I'm from 2 divorces myself, and I look at it very seriously.
I didn't know that. You were married 2 other times?
No, my parents.
Oh, okay.
Through two divorces.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been a bad boy, but I've been that bad.
Look at her and say, how did the tabloids miss that?
You're right, exactly. Can you imagine?
Yeah. They say that the day you get married is the happiest day of your life. Was it for you? Really?
It is, without a question. I thought I'd be real nervous and scared, and I was scared. I'll never forget her coming down the stairs to the place where we got married.
I guess you would be scared. She coming at you, you're danged to be with him, danged if you don't. Didn't want to marry him in the first place, didn't envision things going like this. Your life is turned upside down, just like that show that came out in 1990, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah, I guess you would be kind of frightened. And they're taking it's a ritual too. Their wedding ceremonial ritual. This was supposed to be a godly thing. They turned into a ritual because when they have it regimented and there's a program and it happens in stages, like let's say they have a prayer, which who knows what they're praying to, right? At their kind of weddings, they have like a procession, and then the ceremony begins, and the marriage, and then the after party, and then all that kind of stuff. That's like a ritual, and they have like Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like all that stuff. And the only reason that I know that is because I look at the Duncan's ritual monitor, which, again, if you don't feel comfortable, that's as far as I'll go. Looking at the things the Masons publish and make public on the internet, like the Duncan's ritual monitor, and they talk about how they're like, who goes there? And then they're like back and forth, like a script. Like anytime there's a script or there's like a program, like program notes and stuff in order, it's just a ritual. So this wedding, everything is so much deeper than it appears to be. And this video is pretty much over, so I'm just gonna let it play out for the rest of it. I just thought that was a little bit of a hint into what happened with Rob Lowe in 1990, the late 80s into the 90s, and if his career really did suffer as much as it should have, and why it may not have, is because he possibly made the bargain. Now, they don't, from what I can tell, they don't do this off the bat unless you see someone like that girl who made that song, Call Me Maybe, Carly Rae Jepsen. Somebody came up literally overnight. Usually it's a years, like it's a long process, so they sell their soul. Like they take oaths and then they do rituals, and then like later on. So he'd been in Hollywood for like over at least like 8 years, because that Outsiders came out in 82, I think, 81 or 82. So like after a while, they start wanting more from you, the demons and the people around them, their handlers and everyone around them. So because they've gotten so much fame, there's so many people that know their name now that they want more of them. So yeah, but the selling out process takes a long time, and I think this was that point he reached where he was definite that he was going to be selling his soul. I do believe that he reached that point this long ago, 1990. So you see him today, he's a shell of himself. He's a shell of himself, and he has been for a long time. And I say he, of course, obviously, loosely. We all know it's up in the air when, especially with these shoulder pads. They loved the shoulder pads back then to hide the slopey shoulders underneath. Obviously chin implant, obviously jaw implant, nose job. Even they do the forehead. They even do the forehead. Sometimes eyes are close, inset, all that. Not a sloping forehead, really small too. I don't know what he's taken to get this thicker neck. No Adam's apple you can visibly see. I mean, you know, the usual. Free Martin look. That's a term I got from Hans Wormhat's channel. I don't know. I thought it fit. Because when it's a guy, and it's a girl, but it's also a guy, it's like, okay, I don't know what to call you, like transgender. I mean, because obviously the guys are hardest to spot, so, but after a while it's just like very, 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 very clear. Both male and female. So yeah, I'm just gonna let the rest of this play out, and then gonna go
Married, it was like somebody hit me in
on
the
to the
stomach
next
with a
video.
baseball bat. And she was so pretty, and it was like, and she was there for me, you know, and I was like, how
The next video being a separate video, the one I said I was going to be doing about an NFL player and their kid, because it's absolutely revolting.
how did I get this? How did this happen? How did this happen for me? And it was the most fun. You never, guys, you know, do we think of marriage getting fun? That's not our idea of a good time, is it? Standing up at the altar. I know. It was, though. It really was fun for me.
Well, I don't know if this is true, but a mutual
Lie.
friend of ours, said that you did a lot of therapy.
Yeah, I did. I'm a big believer in it, for me. I did a lot of reevaluating of my life.
Has he been to rehab, like the rehab, like the Kanye rehab, where like he was reprogrammed and stuff? Did Masonic hand sign, saw the thumb to the chin, he's doing that weird gripping the chin pose there. What's up with that?
Things that didn't work for me anymore, I don't do. I don't drink anymore. I don't do drugs, and there have been times, I think, that, you know, in the 80s, we all probably did things we shouldn't do. And it just doesn't work for me anymore. It's not part of what I want to accomplish with my life now.
Yeah.
And therapy it's a great thing to have a sounding board. So they can see patterns in your life that maybe you don't. All good things you do so you can keep doing them, and maybe some bad things you're doing so you can stop doing them. Yeah. It's great to have somebody say, hey, did you ever think that, you know, maybe you should do more of this or less of that?
Yeah.
It's real great, because sometimes you're too...
It's real great. There was a 666.
More of this or less of that?
Yeah.
It's real...
Yeah. I mean, they have to do this. This is mandatory. They have to throw up the hand signs. Him doing this, all these hand signs, they're not just Masonic, they're demonic. So, you know, he's doing what he's doing.
Sometimes you're too close to it, and so are your friends, and you just can't see it. So for me, it's been great.
Of all the things that the therapist helped you realize, what was the real important thing, the most important thing?
that I deserve to be happy.
You felt that you didn't deserve to be happy? Did you have low self-esteem or something of that nature?
Well, I think it's sort of weirdly inherent in what we do. I really think that, maybe I should just speak for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you find yourself in front of an audience for that very first time, and you get that love and that immediate connection, and you go, hey. And I think that might have something to do with, you know, the need to feel cared for. I don't really know, but you know, it's really been a good thing, a really good thing.
Yeah. Wow. Was it one of those kind of situations where you talked a lot about your childhood and found out things that happened when you were young?
Oh, yeah. Well, this interview might be spaced out as far as Jim's, very spaced out. It's mostly just blabber and lies about him talking about his fake life that was written in advance when he decided to initially take the oath. To what? In his case, I do get this feeling that he's, despite, because they're not always going to come out and say that they're crypto Jew, right? I do look at him and I see that he could possibly be crypto. So this may have started in synagogue with in his case, in which case the synagogue is over the Masons Masonic temple, like by a long shot. Like they call the lodge they call the lodge Temple for Dummies. So like this is really that's not what I'm saying. I heard from someone who was in it was some video I was watching and they were saying it's Temple for Dummies. And I'm like, ew, well, wow. Because they are still doing the Kabbalistic magic and witchcraft and sorcery and all this stuff. So, but, yeah. Look at yourself, see what you're like, your head starts shaking and you don't know why. A lyric from Tears for Fears, the band from the 80s, the Bad Man's song. I used to listen to Tears for Fears so much. And he's talking about fears from childhood. That's also what the song is about when you hear the interview. Roland Orzabal. From Tears for Fears. But he's talking about fears. He's talking about not really loving himself. These people are broken, shattered. He's really good at holding it together. He's got definitely multiple alternate personalities. They had to get them all, like, when they go to rehab, aka the reprogramming center, they reprogram them and they get their personalities all, like, conglomerated, like, combined. That is some form of therapy, except for it's only to keep them from speaking out. It's not the right kind of therapy. But I would say that I don't even like the idea of therapy. Just pray, speak to God about it. Like, you don't need to go to man. You know, I've heard some Christian counselors that sound legit. Like, when people go through SRA, that seems like that's the kind of people that therapy was mainly made for. Like, SRA, when they go through a sexual abuse of any kind, really, to that level, especially, though. It's like, because all I heard when I went to therapy, because I did a few occasions, is collecting information that might be dangerous. Like, you pose a danger, you're a menace to society, so let's keep tabs on you and archive them in our files and have you pay for it, going there and spending your time, and then them trying to put you on meds, which when they tried to prescribe them to me, they sat there and I never took them. And they kept asking me, so there's something about taking these drugs and why they want you to go to, like, that's why they feed, when people go to, like, mental hospital or something, like a mental asylum, they, like, feed them constant pills all day long. So, but anyway, that was never, obviously. I was just going to, when I was still in college, like, going to a college counselor, and they're like, have you taken the medicine yet? Like, I literally went and got it. I never even took it once. because I know that junk was pharmakia, even then, in my soul, of course, before I knew what it was. So I don't do medicine, not even for the monthly cycle. I don't even take, like, maybe once since I first started to, like, know about pharmakia, maybe twice. Because I'm not going to say, like, oh, the pain is so bad I didn't, like, once take a Tylenol. But now I catch myself, I'm like, you know what? It's not that bad. You don't need the medicine. So, but my point is about Rob Lowe. He went through some really traumatic stuff. And the reason he needed therapy is because even though he appears to have it together and be super intelligent and recovered from this embarrassment ritual in the late 80s, he's not okay. And he's possibly still not okay if he ever harbored any of the stuff that happened to him on the road to fame. That's just messed up, but it's true.
That affect you now?
You never even think about until they come up. You go, gosh, geez, yeah, that might have made a.
Yeah, and this is the end of the interview, and I guess this wasn't a full clip of the actual show, but I thought it was good enough to capture what was going on. He's dealing with a lot of demons. Like, it's not just that they're doing Masonic hand signs, get finger to the temple. He's still dealing with stuff here, even though he supposedly had therapy. It's just, no, they don't receive. You got to go to God, and so if they're not, and you got to go through Jesus Christ. So it's not like, oh, because they always talk about God and in Hollywood, and they're like, well, which one? Like, which? There we go. There's the English language again at its finest. Which. There's a sandwich chain called Which. Like to play on words. They love puns. I don't know if it's like a thing that originated, but it is connected to witchcraft, but puns. And I used to like puns until I saw them being used for evil a lot of the time. And I was like, and like being sneaky and stuff in English language. And I was like, because I studied English. But, and now I know why there's so many Hollywood people who studied English in college and got a degree in it. Because, see, which language, they learn it in tandem with the English language so that they can trick people with the things that they say, which is why I talk about the codes and some past videos, the PP, how they put the PP in a lot of news stories, CC 33. I mean, a lot of people already know this, like MM 33. Like, a lot of this stuff is on the Jurassic Liars 26 channel, which I don't watch too much anymore, but he's got a lot of videos talking about these codes. If you watch the news, the short news clip videos, it's all there. But I just wanted to get this out there. I know this is very all over the place, not organized, and I'm actually kind of happy it turned out this way, even if it's not all that great, because I don't want my videos to sound like a ritual, all planned out, and I mean, no, goodness, no. Regimented, like how they do these interviews, which seemed off the cuff, but it can't be, because they discuss even the hand signs they're going to be throwing up. And like I said, even though they're demonic, these hand signs, they know that these hand signs are demonic, and they intentionally rehearse them and throw them up. That's why you see someone like Beyonce. Like, I hate to be all talking about the whole typical Illuminati stuff, but that recent video that Beyonce made, the very recent one, where they're like on the chessboard and stuff, the checkerboard, they're throwing up the pyramid like I've never seen anyone. They definitely rehearsed that. I've never seen anyone throw it up that clean. Like, you see them throw this stuff up, it looks exactly like the diagram. But anyway, yeah, I totally went on a rant a little there, but I just want you to be aware of the background of these people and how they got to where they are. So just wanted to share that with you guys. I thank you for watching, and God bless you in Jesus Christ's name.